Welcome to this hour of presence practice. And today we will be feeling these three qualities of nature's flow in a way that we can feel them more all together. And for this, we'll be feeling a sense of long in space, so that for those of you who are continuing with this practice, there's the sense of the whole flow quality. And finally long, that experience of our felt landscape, what we might call today our feeling scape, is that any length in our body is comprised of all these very fine flows, another quality of nature's presence, and that they all are arising, interacting mutually together. And so today has a little bit of a warm-up before we go into the foundation of our practice together. So can come briefly to either kneeling or standing. I'll just model it for standing. And with knees bent and soft, bending forward. This is not a stretch. This is an opportunity to feel our arms and begin to feel what we might mean by this finely long flow in our arms. And first invite you to give them a shake. Release any extra holding or tension. And then let them hang loose, long. There still is probably some extra holding. And we can uncover that by going in the other direction. So curling the fingers into a fist, tightening the lower arms, the elbows, the upper arms, maybe a bit into the shoulders, and gently holding. Holding, and as we hold, notice the shortness, the feeling of bracedness in our arms, and breathing in, holding at the top, and then let it all go. Let the arms drop with a sigh, and notice if the arms feel longer, looser. Return to giving them a shake and see if there's more of a wave-like motion as you shake your arms, because they're a little bit feeling that fineness of flow. And then can have some fun if you'd like. Swing yourself over to sitting with your arms still long and loose. And with your arms long and loose, letting your shoulders rest, letting the back of your hands rest, and closing your eyes. Closing your eyes to tune into this inner landscape inner feeling scape, for time spent, quality time with these ever-present qualities of nature's flow. Beginning by feeling the shoulders laying down to the support of the torso. Letting the releasing sense of the out-breath help the shoulders lay down just as they are. And then coming down the arms, seeing if the arms can stay a little longer and loose until you begin to feel into the place where the back of your hand makes contact with your lap. And let the hands feel their weight being given to the support beneath. Let the hands let go. Perhaps using the releasing and letting go of the out breath to help the hands release and let go more fully. And in that laying down to support, letting yourself really touch in on the quality, the felt experience of contact, back of the hands and lap. That connection there. That mutual giving and receiving that happens in each moment right there. That feeling of mutual flow. And then beginning to notice your seat and the very place where your seat makes contact with the ground. And that same taste of mutual flow of contactful, mutual giving and receiving as we lay down into support. Very, very likely that we're still propping ourselves up more like we are sitting alone. So letting go of the out breath help us let go and lay down a little more for the next couple of out breaths. And then may like to feel almost as though on the in breath you're drawing up into your body the experience of support, taking it in just like you take in the air from around you. And how we've felt one side of the interaction and the other side of the interaction. And even at the level of physical forces, our weight is going down into the ground, and the force from the ground is going up into our body as one simultaneous event. One inseparable mutual flow of contact and connection, seat and ground. And hands and lap, same thing. And shoulders and torso. And every little part and particle of our body. All in this mutual flow together. And to feel into how fine this flow of nature is, we next turn to the sensations at our nose. Of this air that flows in to our body and flows out of our body. feeling the space inside your nose and the sensations there. And can go right into alternate nostril noticing and sensing in that pattern if that part of the practice supports you. And how, as we feel into this flow, we're not trying to grasp anything. We're opening to how finely we can feel these flows, these puffs of air that are themselves comprised of finer flows. Like a fractal that keeps opening into finer, richer detail. I feel like we're falling into the practical infinite of nature's flow, right there in our experience of the breath at the nose. And to help with this opening, this open-ended inquiry, experiential inquiry into the infinite, limitless freedom. Just playing with what it would be like to continue to feel the sensations at your nose and also feel the space between your eyes. What would it be like to stay sensitive to the sensations inside the space of your nose? And feel as well the space to the back of your head. Literally the distance, the length, the space between your nose on your face and the back of your head. What might it be like to open to this limitless free flow with awareness of the back of your head? And now continuing to still feel that free flow at your nose, but now tracing it down inside your body, as far down as you would like, on the in breath, as the air comes in, tracing it down into your body. And how for this part of the practice, we combine this with, on the out breath, feeling the downward wave as the air leaves our body. The downward wave of our front body. And combining both in breath and out breath so that we're feeling down into our body and feeling free flow. That cascading wave of the front body is fundamentally as free flowing as air, as water, comprised of flows within flows. All mutually connected in this wave. It's like that taste, that common taste of these qualities. Quality of free flow on the in breath, free flow of the air. And what would it be like to taste that same fundamental quality in the cascade of your own body that waves with that same fundamental freedom? Two different experiences. That's why we alternate back and forth, feeling the breath coming in, feeling that wave, the front body as we breathe out. And within those seeming differences, still that one taste of free flow. And today, a slight modification for our final interval as we touch in on each of the three qualities of presence. So now on the out breath, instead of tracing the wave down front body, seeing what it would be like to trace down both arms to the thumb. We'll repeat that a couple of times. We breathe in and then tracing down from the shoulders all the way to the tips of the thumb. And can slightly elongate the thumb if one would like. And feel the end of the out breath right when you've scanned to the very tip of your thumb. And now we'll begin the finger by finger, breath by breath practice. On the next out breath, from the shoulder, tracing all the way down to the tip of your pointer finger. And continuing finger by finger. The end of the out breath, feeling the tip of that finger touching the air, the space just beyond it. And continuing at your own pace through several rounds, finger by finger. And when you reach your next round, fading out that sense of scanning down all the way the length of your arms, and instead filling out the feeling of the volume of each finger. If you'd like, you can feel almost as though the breath is filling that finger that you're feeling. Filling it with well, not really filling it with anything. It's already completely full, full of the being of free flow. That's all mutually flowing together. And that we can experience right there, taking up 3D space. in an experience of being that we call a finger. Gradually coming to your final round. And then we drop the finger by finger noticing and spread the fingers. And in spreading the fingers, there's that feeling scape of where our fingers are in space. And even included in that feeling scape is the space between our fingers. All part of one feeling scape. Fingers and space between the fingers. Space between the fingers and space occupied by fingers. And it's all one space. All whole space. And as you feel your fingers, notice if you're looking down at them with your eyes. And just feel the space between your eyes. Feel the space between your ears. Listen to the sounds around you in your soundscape. And include a feeling of awareness at the back of your head. And let the feeling scape of your fingers be there as part of your experience, since they are there, vibrant, teeming with presence, and sending their own signals of sensation. And now letting the feelingscape of our fingers be there. All the way to the fingertips. And letting the feelingscape of our shoulders be included. And we'll come back to this in our second half as we transition to our second half of the practice. But for a moment, here, notice what it might be like to not scan the arms bit by bit, but simply feel the two ends of the length of your arm, from the tips of your shoulders to the tips of your fingertips. Those two ends of your feelingscape in space at once. And while seated, beginning to feel the subtle movement of the breath and its cascading wave down the front body. Noticing that we may have gone back to scanning down the front body, and that's fine. Just getting back in touch with that fineness of movement. And now letting the breath help to lay down your shoulders. Lay down the weight of the back of your hands. Let your hands feel heavy. Let your arms feel loose. And with that sense of the length from the tips of your fingertips to the tips of your shoulders, opening to the subtle movement of the breath in your arms. The actual physical, subtle shifts that happen in your arms along that length as you breathe. And if there's any sense of, I'm not sure if I'm feeling it or what I'm supposed to feel, that's okay. We are combining here two flavors, two tastes that we tend not to feel all together, and yet is there in our experience of freedom along a length, freedom and connection comprising a length and space. From your fingertips to your shoulders, all at once the length of your arm. And all at once, the inevitable flow of change, even as subtle as the shift caused by the breath coming into our body and leaving our body. And we will come back to this all a chance to have this quality time with these qualities. And we will shift now to lying down if that feels comfortable for you. And as we do so, we will pass through, just while kneeling, that warm up that we did in the beginning. So can slightly bend over and just let the arms feel long, completely relaxed, hanging down off of our arms, being drawn to the earth. You can give the arm a little shake, the other arm a little shake, both arms, subtle little ripple. And as you do so, just being open to the fineness of that ripple down your arms. And in fact, all through your arms. And then let the arms hang again. Long, fine flow of your arms. And this is some of how, as we begin to lie down, this is some of how combining these sitting practices and lying down meditations can be further supported in a movement practice where sometimes it can be easier to feel into some of these qualities of nature's flow when we are moving. And as we come to lying down, however is comfortable for you, in this realm of practice, we get to practice with the subtler movement of the breath, which can help us open more fully to the fineness of flow along all the lengths of our body. And so just settling in here to your inner landscape, seeing if there's any pockets of holding tension that you can lay down more fully to the support of the ground. When we feel braced together, separate, that's when we are blocking out this fine free flow that comprises our connection along these parts of our body. And let's begin to take in this feeling scape of body sensations as we lay here. Starting with our hands. And may like to feel almost as though the in-breath and the out-breath is coming through our tips of our fingers. And as I often say, it's not, but the free flow of the breath, same taste is there in our fingers. So we're waking up that vibrancy of that felt sense of fingers there in that place in space. And then to shift out of bit by bit scanning mode and shift more fully into the at onceness of flow in space. Just noticing the distance between your two hands, feeling into that space that includes across your body. But just the sense of the space, the length, the distance between your two hands. And then letting that go. And beginning to breathe in and out as if breathing in and out of your toes on both feet. One of the Taoist philosophers, Zhuangzi, says that the virtuous person breathes through their heel. For now, we'll breathe through their toes. And now including the fingers, a sense of breathing in and out through your 5 fingers on both hands, 5 toes on both feet, all together. And kind of inviting your toes to feel as sensitive as your sensitive fingers. And I often find as I do this that that feeling of scanning comes back. And it's not right or wrong, it's just a way that the mind can be. And now dropping the sense of breathing through your fingers and toes. And just feeling the space between your 2 feet. That distance, that length and space. And now again, feeling into the breath and feeling how the flow of the breath affects your shoulders and your hips all at once. That movement, the 4 corners of your torso, coming from your natural, easy breath. Let it be subtle. Let it be what it is. The effects of the breath, the movement there in both shoulders, both hips. And now dropping the sense of the lower body for just a little bit here. And feeling from the shoulders to the fingertips, that space, that distance at once. And how along that space between fingertips and shoulders is this length of arm all at once. And the subtle movement of our breathing is affecting that entire length all at once. What it would be like to feel this finely long flow that happens all at once between fingertips and shoulder tips. The arm, what we call the arm, all this togetherness at once. Through the subtlest, finest flows, mutually, contactfully connecting with other flows. Seeing if that has a taste, where yes, we can tease apart the three qualities right in that experience, but there's also this taste of when we feel them undifferentiated, just together. And what would it be like to include the lower body, the length from hips to toes, all at once? And that there's nothing fundamentally different between arms and legs. So may as well feel finely long flow in that length of legs that are always only happening all at once. And the flow together that includes the subtle movement of our breathing all the way down to our feet and toes. Is only ever happening along that length of togetherness. and feeling length of legs, length of arms, length from the tip of your toes to the tip of your head and the tip of your head to the tip of your toes. And then without scanning anything, the all-togetherness of these lengths flowing in space. And that completes an hour of presence. And welcome to stay with this quality time, maybe for the next 3 minutes here. Tasting what you taste, feeling what you feel, experiencing what you experience. And can maybe begin with a few deeper breaths to transition. Feeling that movement through your body and beginning to actively move your body. And you're welcome to stay there if you'd like. And today I'll share just a little bit more about the practice and some of the options of this practice. So, as we always do in this hour presence practice, there's the first half, which is the time that we just really spend that quality time. I'm kind of jokingly calling it quality time today, pun intended, since it's presence qualities of nature now flow. And so that part of the practice, there's some variations within it, but part of it is really allowing that routine, so that there's this deepening of the experience and the ability to access these qualities that are always part of our experience as part of nature's flow. And then this session today actually concludes a 6-part series of some different adventures that we've gone on in the second half of the Hour of Presence practice. And these adventures have been adventures into deepening and expanding individual qualities of the nature's flow. So we did one for relaxation, feeling the mutual flow with the earth. One for more feeling the subtle flow of our entire body with the breath. One that helped us feel more the whole flow of our entire body in space. And then we've done 3 here, these last 3 ones that have been more ways we can kind of integrate it, integrate those qualities together, especially feeling our fingers and toes as a nice way that we can begin to integrate that wholeness of it's all together at once. And it's also so freely, finely flowing all together. And along the way, we also took maybe what have felt like a little detour into how we can sense our experience perhaps more effortlessly than we imagine. That some of the effortfulness of trying to pay attention to our experience will actually, it has its place. It really does have its place in practice. But to become aware of our own modes of mind so that we can shift more into that effortless awareness that allows us to feel especially the whole flow quality. So we played a little bit with that today, with a sense of the feeling scape and that sense of not scanning the parts of our body, but really opening to the at onceness. And length is one way that we can feel that sense of that onceness. And along that length, it's kind of cheating, but it's all good cheating, right? So we're not one-dimensional beings. we're really not. We're not just length. We are for sure 3D. But it's actually so incredibly rich in our experience that if we go right to feeling 3D in that fineness of flow, it's harder to access. So just by feeling length and by feeling that free flow, that fineness of free flow along that length, and then we can begin to expand that. It's length in this direction. It's also this direction. It's also this direction. So that there's this integration of the feeling of these qualities that are really not separate, but that we may access separately. And what is coming next is how can we, having done this more deep dive into some of these experiences, just sitting and laying down, really letting ourselves soak in that subtlety of our being, how do we begin to bridge that with our daily living? And maybe even what are some ways that we can access this more freely and in different ways so that we can find what works best for us. And so what's coming up will be another series of practices where we will be going into movement. And also going in with movement, going in with what it's like to practice with eyes open. It's an important transition that we can make because we do spend a lot of our time when we're alive with our eyes open, and we still want to be able to access our inner nature retreat and these feelings of qualities of flow within us. So, I often come into these sessions with only a sense of where we're going to be going on these adventures. But I can share with you here that that's where we're going to be headed next. Movement, eyes open, and this will connect with some moving meditations, both Qigong and Tai Chi practices. So, thank you for adventuring here together with us.